Yes, sir, I haven't eaten in 3 days. The homeless girl said, but the billionaire CEO recognized her face. The November rain fell in soft sheets across the city, turning the evening into watercolor. Smeared lights, blurred edges, everything softened by the gray. Marcus Chen stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his corner office, 47 floors above the streets where people hurried home to families, to dinners, to lives that meant something beyond quarterly reports and acquisition deals. He was 53 years old. He had built an empire from nothing, and he could not remember the last time someone had asked him how he was doing and actually wanted to know the answer. His reflection stared back at him. A man in a perfectly tailored suit, silver threading through dark hair, eyes that had learned to hide everything. Behind him, the office gleamed with awards and accolades, photographs with dignitaries and celebrities, evidence of a life that looked remarkable from the outside. But Marcus knew the truth. He went home each night to a penthouse so quiet he could hear his own heartbeat. He ate dinners alone at a table meant for 12. He had everything a man could want, except the one thing money couldn't buy: someone to come home to. His wife, Elena, had passed 7 years ago. Cancer, swift and merciless. And their daughter, their beautiful Lily, had died in a car accident just 2 years after that. Marcus had survived. He wasn't sure anymore if that was a blessing or a curse. He gathered his coat and briefcase, nodding to the night security guard on his way out. The rain had softened to a mist by the time he stepped onto the sidewalk, and he decided to walk the few blocks to where his driver waited. The cold felt good. It reminded him he was still alive. That's when he saw her. She was sitting on the steps of a closed bookshop, a small figure huddled under an awning that did little to keep out the damp. A girl, maybe 8 or 9 years old. Her coat was thin, her shoes held together with tape, and she clutched a tattered backpack like it contained everything precious in the world. Marcus slowed, something catching in his chest. The girl looked up, and for a moment, the world stopped. She had dark hair that curled in the humidity, and eyes the color of warm honey. Eyes that held a strange ancient wisdom no child should possess. But it wasn't just that. It was something in the shape of her face, the way she tilted her head, a familiarity that struck him like a physical blow. She looked exactly like Mrs. Rivera's daughter had looked 30 years ago. Maria Rivera, the woman who had cleaned his family's tiny apartment when Marcus was a boy, the woman who had fed him when his own mother was too drunk to remember he existed, the woman who had slipped him books and told him he was destined for great things. Maria had a daughter named Rosa, a bright, laughing girl with honey-colored eyes who used to share her lunch with Marcus on the apartment building's rooftop. He had lost touch with them when he left for college on a scholarship, determined to become something. He had always meant to find them, to thank Maria for everything. But life had gotten busy, and busy had become years, and years had become decades. And now this child sat before him with Rosa's face. The girl's voice broke through his shock. It was small, apologetic, barely above a whisper. "Sir, I haven't eaten in 3 days." Marcus felt his throat tighten. He lowered himself slowly, bringing himself to her eye level, ignoring the rain that dampened his expensive coat. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Lily," she said. "Lily Rivera." The name hit him like a wave. Lily, his daughter's name. Anne Rivera, Maria's name. "Where's your mother, Lily?" The girl's eyes filled with tears. She was clearly trying very hard not to let fall. "Mama's sick. She's at the shelter, but they said we could only stay 3 more nights. She didn't want me to go out, but I thought maybe I could find something for both of us." She opened her tattered backpack and showed him what was inside. A worn photograph of a woman with Rosa's face, decades older now, but unmistakable. And beneath it, a faded children's book, the same edition of The Little Prince that Maria Rivera had given Marcus when he was 12 years old. The book that had changed his life, the book he had passed to Rosa before he left for college. "My grandma gave this to my mama," Lily said softly. "And mama gave it to me. She said someone special gave it to grandma once, a boy she believed in." Marcus couldn't speak. The coincidence, if it could even be called that, felt like something larger, something meant. All these years, and the universe had placed Rosa's daughter directly in his path on a rainy November night, carrying the very book that had once taught him that what is essential is invisible to the eye. "Lily," he said, his voice rough with emotion, "I'd like to take you to your mama, and then I'd like to help you both, if you'll let me." The girl studied him with those ancient knowing eyes. Children always could see through pretense, Marcus had learned. They knew truth from performance. "You're not a stranger," Lily said finally, with absolute certainty. "You're the boy from the book. And somehow, impossibly, she was right. The shelter was a gray building in a gray part of the city, but inside it was warm, filled with the quiet movements of people doing their best with very little. Marcus found Rosa in a corner cot, thin and pale. Her honey-colored eyes widened in shock when she saw him. "Marcus Chen," she breathed. "Little Marcus from apartment 4B. He sat beside her and took her hand. It had been 35 years, but some connections don't fade with time. He learned that Rosa had become a nurse, had worked for decades helping others. Her husband had died young. She had raised Lily alone. And then, last year, she had gotten sick, an autoimmune condition that had taken her job, then her savings, then her apartment. "I didn't want to ask for help," Rosa admitted, tears streaming down her face. "Mama always said you made something of yourself. I saw you in magazines sometimes. I was so proud of you. I didn't want you to see me like this." Marcus shook his head, something cracking open in his chest, something that had been frozen for years. "Your mother saved me," he said. "She believed in me when no one else did. Let me do the same for you." That night, Marcus brought Rosa and Lily to his penthouse. He gave them the guest rooms that had never been used, made them tea in a kitchen that had never known laughter. Lily fell asleep on the couch, exhausted, and for the first time in 7 years, the silence in Marcus's home felt gentle rather than suffocating. The weeks that followed felt like watching ice thaw in springtime, slow, almost imperceptible. And then suddenly everything was different. Rosa grew stronger with proper rest and medical care. Marcus connected her with the best specialists, but more than that, he simply made sure she wasn't alone. They talked for hours about Maria, about the old neighborhood, about all the years in between. Rosa told him stories about Lily's birth, about her daughter's fierce kindness and her love of books. Marcus told her about Elena and his Lily, how strange and healing it was that Rosa had named her daughter the same thing, how it felt like the universe knitting something together that had come undone. And Lily transformed Marcus's world in ways he couldn't have anticipated. She read aloud to him from The Little Prince every evening, her small voice filling the penthouse with wonder. She asked him questions no one had asked in years. What was his favorite color? Did he believe in wishes? What made him happy? "I don't know anymore," Marcus admitted one night, and Lily had tilted her head in that familiar way. "Then we should find out," she said. "Finding out is the fun part." She made him drawings for his office, colorful, joyful things that looked absurd next to his corporate awards. She insisted on eating dinner together every night, all 3 of them, at the table meant for 12. She taught him how to laugh again, simply by being a child who expected joy as her birthright. By December, Marcus had set up a trust for Rosa's medical care and established a foundation in Maria Rivera's name to help families facing housing instability. By February, Rosa was well enough to return to nursing part-time at a community clinic, a job she loved, surrounded by people who needed her. And by spring, when the cherry blossoms bloomed in the park near Marcus's building, he realized he had become part of something he thought he'd lost forever. A family, not by blood, not by obligation, by choice. 1 year later, Marcus sat on a bench in that same park, watching Lily chase pigeons across the grass. Her laughter rang out like music, clear and bright and impossibly healing. Rosa sat beside him, her hand resting on his arm, both of them wrapped in the soft gold of late afternoon light. "She asked me something this morning," Rosa said quietly. "What's that?" "If you would officially be her grandfather." Marcus felt his breath catch. He turned to look at Rosa, at this woman who had once been a little girl sharing her lunch with a hungry boy, at this family that had found its way back to him across 35 years of separation. "What did you tell her?" Rosa smiled, the same smile her mother used to give Marcus when he brought home good grades, when he talked about his dreams, when he proved that believing in someone was never wasted. "I told her to ask you herself." As if summoned, Lily came running back, breathless, her eyes bright with mischief and hope. "Grandpa Marcus," she said, testing the words. "Do you like it?" Marcus pulled her onto his lap, this child who had been hungry and cold on a rainy November night, this child who had carried a book across generations, this child who had somehow given him back the thing he thought he'd lost forever. "I love it," he said, his voice thick. "I love you." Lily pressed her small hand against his chest, right over his heart. "Good," she said, "because you're stuck with us now." Marcus laughed, really laughed, for the first time in longer than he could remember. And there in the park, beneath the cherry blossoms, surrounded by the sounds of children playing and birds singing and life continuing in all its ordinary, extraordinary ways, he understood something he had forgotten, that what is essential is invisible to the eye, That a book given in love ripples forward through time. That the people who save us are sometimes very small and sometimes very hungry, and sometimes waiting for us on the steps of a closed bookshop on a rainy November night. And that family, real family, chosen family, heart family, is never about what you've lost. It's always about what you're brave enough to find. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.